Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back, and as always, huge massive thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. So coming back with my last little play with the Enchanted Glades Forever Grateful set. So this is the one with that beautiful deer with the beautiful blue eye on. We've got a fox, we've got a sort of arch topper with the owl, then we've got a sort of flirty owl in a square topper there. We've got a Sent with Love, Forever Grateful, Best Wishes, Many Happy Returns. Oh, there's two tags there, and then this beautiful border as well. For the foiled cardstock, we've got that beautiful deer with that feature foiling as well, and it's so tactile, beautiful cardstock. And this fox as well is gorgeous on the printed. The inserts have the actual deer on, or the fawn, but obviously they're coloured, so you could use them either way. And I am going to be bringing in a little bit of the foiled cardstock today. If you haven't got foiled cardstock, you could use some from the kit instead when I use that, or you could just use some plain adorable scoreable, your duo design pads. What else could you use? That's all the papers from the insert and paper pack, if you've got that as well. Okay, so I'm going to start. I've already pre-cut out of a piece of A3 Ink Me cardstock a piece, and it's 10 by 7. And I'm going to do a cut in Z fold. So I'm going to bring in the trimmer, and I'm going to pop this in at 2.5 inches, and then I'm going to cut from, actually I'm going to put the blade in first, it slipped out, so 2.5 inches, and then I'm going to cut from 2.5 to 7.5. So if I mind up my little marker at that 2.5 point, and then we're just going to take that all the way to 7.5. And then I'll pop that out of the way for a second and bring in the scoreboard. And I'm going to score at that 2.5 down to the cut point. I still haven't amended my template, but on my template it says score all the way down. It won't hurt it if you do that, but I think it just is a little stiffer if you don't the pop out bit. And then at 5 inches we're going to go all the way along, and then if I turn that around, and then just at that 2.5 point we're just going to go to that cut line again. And I'll pop that down, and then what we can do, just got a little hair there, this one is going to come forward, this one's going to go back, so we're just easing these in the way we want them to go and bringing them over. And then once we've got them moving in the right direction, I can come in with my little burnishing tool. Let's go with the back pieces first, and I just make sure it's lined up with the edge of my card so that it is folding nicely. And what you will find is once you start burnishing these down, you're going to get a nice crisp movement with the fold, and that's how it's going to stand. So even as though it's got that bit cut out at the back, there's still enough stability there for that to stand up nicely on a shelf. So that is what we are going to be decorating. So let's bring in my scoreboard, my trimmer again. We'll cut the arm out because some of these need to be to 7 inches. And I'm going to take 2 notches off the 7, and then I can turn this around now, and we know this is 2.5, so I'm going to take 2 notches off that, and I need 2 of those, so 2.5 minus the 2 notches for the 1/8 of an inch, those will go onto there. And then again I'm going to do 2 more pieces that are 2.5 minus those 2 notches, or 1/8 of an inch, The leftover piece is going to go straight into my bit box, because otherwise, knowing me, I'm going to get confused. But this bottom piece here is 2.5 squared. So if I take another 2 notches off of that 2.5, that's going to fit nicely onto there. And then this here is, I think it's 4, but now I'm questioning it in my head, so I'm just going to measure it. See, good job I did, so it's 4.5. I did wonder if that half was going to come into it somewhere, so we're going 2 notches under the 4.5, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with this piece. We can take 2.5 minus the 2 notches, 4.5 minus the 2 notches. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in the deer cardstock, and I'm going to start by taking a piece that's 2.25, and I'm going to cut this to 6.75. So that's going to be my piece that goes on there. I'm going to repeat that here again, so 2.25 by 6.75, just keeping that detail on the bottom. I might turn it around and have it at the top, but we'll see. And then all I need now is 2 pieces for here. Now I could come in and cut a little bit off here. I could even use a bit of a border to stick those together. But what I'm going to do is just grab the papers from the paper pack. And I could come in with some of the foiled cardstock if I wanted to as well. But I'm just going to add this paper in. So again, we need to cut that to 2.25. And I'm going to go with the lighter side, so I just want 2 pieces that are going to be 2.25 squared. Then you can use any of those other elements if you want to. And then always in the middle, what I put is the insert. So if I grab that insert, and I'm going to cut this down to, actually I can bring that down there. So again, it needs to be 2.25. So I am cutting her in half, 2.25. And I might just tidy this up with my guillotine blade after. And then it needs to be 4.25. So I am going to lose just a little bit of her ear there. So what I'm going to do is just pop those together. And I'm just going to take maybe 1/2 inch off the bottom. And then we can go at that 4.25. We should have her whole ear in, and 4.25. Those little pieces I keep for scribbling notes on and things. Let's pop that there. And then what I'm going to do is just bring in my guillotine, just tidy up those edges. This is one of the reasons why I prefer my guillotine for cutting the insert papers. Just because it does tend to get a neater edge. I always tend, I mean, sometimes if the blade is like spanking new, it will cut it nicely. But most of the time it just makes the paper a little fluffy on the edge. A little bit there as well. And I'm not really taking, you can see it's Not even taking anything off, it's just tidying up that edge. Because you don't want to mess with the measurements as such. There we go. Sorry, that's quite noisy as well. Okay, so I still another little bit there, but I think once I get the glue on, that's going to settle down. It will probably rub away. Now these I am going to turn around that way so that we've got that plain orange going along the bottom. So that's going to be the plan. So the glues I'm going to be using, they're going to be the same glues I always use. It's going to be the all-purpose, which is this one, the Kalau all-purpose. I've also got Kalau tacky glue. I'm also going to be using on the papers, I'm going to be using my dotty tape pen. You'll probably see me bring in that purple glue stick since it's my new best friend. And I am, what I heard on YouTube, a new word, I am an over adhesive. So I do use 2 glues on my projects. So I'm not ashamed of it, I'm really not. It's what I do, it works for me, especially on videos. So I'm quite happy with it, but either of these glues would work perfectly with most of these. I would say the tacky glue, probably not the best glue to use on papers, because it can soak in and just sometimes causes the paper to bubble a little bit, which can be disheartening. But it really does depend on how thickly you apply it, and also the type of paper, the thickness of paper. So it doesn't happen all the time, but I find it does happen quite a lot with me. But like I say, I am an over adhesive. I might get myself a badge with that name. Because I did like it so much. That was watching Kathy Zilski, one of the American content creators that I love to watch. Just think she's got a really lovely personality, and sometimes it's not so much the products as the personality of the person, although obviously the products are nice. But she does some work for, she does do some spellbinders, which is how I found her. But there's Simon Said Stamp, and also, who else does she work for? She does Gina K. I love Gina K products, but quite hard and expensive to get over here. So now I've got those papers onto card, I can just go onto my normal cardstock. I had Happy Mail today, so my Hunkydory order with the new replacement tape pen, the refills, is on its way, which is a relief for sure. I was watching Hunkydory this morning, and actually I caught it on Hobby Maker yesterday, the new kit. Honestly, they had me at Matastic, but the kit is beautiful. So I will be getting that, you will be seeing that, and fairly soon I would think. I am toying with the idea of putting it on an express delivery. But I don't know, I might do, see, I've got choices for the next couple of videos, and I'm really conflicted about what I want to use. So all of them require me to use other bits and pieces, which is great. So I have the topper pads, and I have the teenage decoupage, which I did love. And you may have seen a card of that already. I did one of my project videos with that. So you can still see a little bit of fluff there, but I will just ease that down with my nail. And I think that will be fine. There we go. Yeah, so I've got the teenage one, the card toppers, and I have also got the bookmarks. So I'm a bit conflicted, so I don't know what's coming up next, so I can't give you the heads up because I don't know myself. It's probably going to be a case of what I feel like doing when I get up in that morning, which will be Saturday, won't it? No, Friday. So, but like I say, I might order that kit to come, but we'll see. But there you can see that's the start of the card. I've already got that image on there. It can still be written on. That is bugging me. So what I might do later is just pop. Oh no, it's gone now. It has gone. Just needs a little bit of encouragement to move away. So it is still a little bit fluffy, but the guillotine, like I say, is better for cutting those papers. But when it's closed up, looks like so. So it looks perfectly nice. You could just stick one of the big sentiment toppers on there, and that would be a beautiful card. But we are going to use the beautiful kit, seeing as that is the cardstock that came with it. So if I can extract the toppers, and I am going to use this beautiful big deer fawn. I do feel like it's a female because of the blue eyes, but you know, it could be anything. So that's going to go on there, and I think all I'm going to do really simply is bring in this tag. I'll probably grab a little bit of ribbon as well, which I haven't planned, so we will put that on there. That's going to go across a lot of that, so I don't need to worry about putting anything on here. A couple of little gems, and that's going to be the card finished, I think, on that one. So it's not really going to take a lot, this one. Probably going to miss out this middle frame because I like a bit of space, and obviously we've got that coming over the edge, so it would be nice to show that that has come over the edge. I'm already feeling like 2mm foam pads is going to be the way I go. There she goes on there. That can go onto my little pile. Okay, yeah, that's the plan. Real hardly anything on this card. But it doesn't really need it, so you know, we don't have to overdress it. You can throw everything at it if you want to. That's the beauty of Hunkydory, really, is that I could sit here and I could put almost everything on the card and it would look gorgeous, or I can pare it right down like this, 2 elements from that topper sheet, and it's going to look pretty. And that's what you want, isn't it? You want a pretty card. Okay, so let's come in with some 2mm foam pads. I'm just going to, I'm sure I did this the other day, but they've disappeared. So I'm just going to cut all the way along here because it's going to be going to need some for the next video, the next card as well. We're just going to pop, actually we need to just make sure we're not putting them where they are not going to be seen. So I'm going to go one more on there, and then I don't want to go past the halfway point at the top. So let's pop that there, and then I'm not going to forget If you've got the strips, of course, this is a lot easier. And I am still looking at trying to get some more of these foam pads. I did try a fix it the other day and it still was saying out of stock. I need to do some basic card shopping, do you know, like the card stock and stuff. So my sort of 6x12 I get from Paper Cuts here in the UK. Not only is it a great deal, but they have amazing customer service. I think the second order I got from them, I had a problem where Royal Mail had used the package as a football, and I emailed them and they were on it within minutes. So and you always, I think that's the thing, isn't it, when you buy something, it's like Hunkydory, they've got great customer service as well. You want to know when you buy something that the support is there if something were to go wrong. And it was totally outside of their, it wasn't their problem, it wasn't them that had damaged the parcel, but they still did replace them, and they replaced them really quick as well. Okay, so I'm just checking that that is quite straight, because it just occurred to me that it might be a little bit off. I think I'm happy with that. And then for this piece here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring that little frame back. I'm going to pop that in, and then just to make it easy for myself, I'm going to put these 2mm foam pads onto the actual card. That way I can be sure I'm not putting them where they are going to be seen. And I think what I'll do is just pop 1 or 2 along there. Let's see how that feels. That's moved over a little bit, but it should be still fine. Yeah, that feels nicely supported. So now what I can do is just pop these backs off. I have a little glass jar on my desk that I collect these bits in most of the time, although I'm not going to lie, there are some on the floor. I never take my purple glue stick to my project because I am way too messy with it. So I'm just going to use a little bit of tacky glue just to give me the same wiggle room time, although in my opinion it's not as good as those purple glue sticks. And we're just going to pop that in, and that's going to be quite nicely central. Then that can go back in its new little home. And then I'm going to pop some 2mm on here. Now what I would say about anything that goes on the back or the inside of this card, so let me show you rather than just tell you. A little bit of purple glue stick there. So anything here in this little square here where my finger is going to be fine because you've got nothing there. But where there's a fold like here, if you put gems there, that's going to really make that bulk up a little bit, which is fine if you've got the envelope to back it up with. But also the other thing you need to think about is if it gets some pressure when it goes through the post, sometimes let's say if I put some gems here, maybe I put a really big one, you know, sometimes they're the bigger ones. If there's a lot of pressure, sometimes that will dig into this other side, so you may get that impression there. So that is just something just to be aware of. I wouldn't say don't put gems there, because I would just say don't go too huge on them. Okay, and I think actually rather than using, I'm going to bring in this little bit of blue, literally a little bit of scrap of blue where I'd cut it too long last time. So all I'm going to need, and it's just the perfect blue for that, matchy. And I'm just going to use, this is an old Glitter Girls bow maker. Hunkydory have one with removable pegs, so you have a lot more options about what size bow you want to make. I think it's really reasonable as well. It's about £4 or £5. Worst comes to worst, you can do it with a fork. It's just holding the fork while you do it. Or if you have like an old, I don't know if this is the proper name, so I apologise, like an afro comb. Obviously it needs to be clean, you don't want any product or anything on it. But the sort of prongs, the tines of that, you can use those to tie bows on as well if you haven't got a bow maker yet and you want to have a go at tying bows. That one's going to go on there. Now since I've gone with the blue, I think what I need to do now is go with some beautiful blue gems, and I have got things falling on the floor. I have got a little box like this with a beautiful pastel blue in. There you are. And I think that's going to match perfectly. So I think I'm going to go with maybe 3. Let's go with 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to go with 3 up there, and then I'm going to bring 2 down on this side here. I'm not going to put anything on there. Like I say, I could do, these are not so high that they would cause a really big problem for me, but I'm just going to keep it all on this front side, so it'll be when you see the card, when you open the envelope, that's when you're going to get the full effect of these. And these are Temu gems. I believe they're supposed to be nail gems really. So they are only a couple of pounds, £1, £2, something like that. Really silly amount of money for the amount of gems you get, but because they are nail ones, they are proper sparkly, which is really what I love most about them. So that bow needs to set for about 5 minutes or so, and then that glue will hold that on there. It's not going to hold it on there so strong that, you know, you could hang an elephant off it. So if you've got somebody that's going to be pulling at things, it's probably not the best glue to use. Maybe a hot glue gun would be better if you've got really good control on that. But if it's somebody, you know, who's just going to take it out and put it on the side and it's going to be decorative, it will hold it well enough for that. But that's card number 1, and I'm just going to get set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, I've got a 6x6 card blank, so it's that 6x12 folded in half. And what I originally wanted to do was one of those cutaway cards where I have this sort of square in the middle. But the square for my fox is bigger than that square. So I'm going to do like a fakey version of it with layers instead. So we've got our 6x6 there. Let's bring in my trimmer. I'm going to grab a couple of 6x6 mirror mats. So the first one I'm going to take to 2 notches under the 6 by 2 notches under the 6. And this is going to be my base. And then I'm going to bring in the cardstock, which is the one with the fox, but we're not using our foxy version. We will save that for another card. And then I'm going to take that to 5 3/4 square. Oops. Like so. And I'm going to pop this onto that side. So I'm just going to show you how I'm building this up. And then I'm going to take that 6x6 mirror mat again, and I'm going to cut this to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Again, these pieces you can be saving for borders if you want to. And then I'm going to cut that down the diagonal so. So this is going to come onto my piece here. This will go into the bit box for when I've got another card that I want to do that way. So that triangle was 5 3/4. So I'm going to take this piece to 5 1/2. This is that beautiful blue foiled, and we want that to 5 1/2. And then I want this bit to be on my left hand side. So effectively I'm going to have pretty much a blue triangle with barely anything on. We can still use that elsewhere. That's going to be that piece that goes onto there, like so. Now, do I want to add something behind there? I think I do. So if I grab another piece of, I'll use my gold Miri mats for now, and I think this is about 4 1/4. So measuring the frame, yeah, just over 4 1/4. So if I go to 4 1/2, no, if I go to 4 1/2 plus 2 notches, because I am going to put some patterned paper on there, like so. So these bits are decent sizes. They will go into my bit box, and then I just need to grab, I actually think I'm going to use some of the insert paper. So let's swap trimmers. Let's learn from our little time saving from last time. So this piece was 4 1/2 plus 2, 4 1/2. So it's 4 3/4 actually. That is 4 3/4. So let's go 4 1/2 plus 2 inches. We can always cut it down a little more if I need to. Let's have a look at that. That's what I thought I had, but when I measured it, it looks slightly different. Maybe because, so it needs to be 4 1/2. Or maybe because of the bar. So it needs to be 4 1/2 square. Like I say, you could use those pretty papers if you wanted to, but I just think something plain is just going to bring that up. So that is how we are planning our card. Now let's come in with our layers. And I'm just going to start popping these together. Actually, we can go on the 10th fold, seeing as we're doing it. Sorry if you see my scruffy hair. There we go. And I'm going to go flat with my layers. You could, of course, maybe be raising these up, maybe 1mm, maybe 2mm on like this next piece that I'm going to be doing for a bit of height and dimension. I want all of the dimension to be in that topper. I want the focus to be on that topper. You can see how beautiful that is. And again, just going around. So like I say, this bit you could put on a 1mm if you wanted to. Depends on what type of envelope you're popping it into. Then we can pop this over. And I can come a little bit and have a little bit of that border coming through. Like so. It's one of them things I could fiddle on for hours. So I just force myself to step away. And again, nice amount of all-purpose. I'm going to pop that in and on. There we go. And then this piece, of course it's paper, so the other thing you could do as well, if you wanted to, you could use some more of that foiled edge-to-edge foiled cardstock, or of course you could just use your plain adorable scoreable. If you were going to put some plain sort of peach adorable scoreable, maybe even embossed with dots, or just doing the crosses with, not crosses, but just doing lines with your school board, that would work really well. Now this one, what I am going to do is just pop, I know I said I wasn't going to raise it up, but where I've got those 2 layers of cardstock, it's already around about 1mm high. So if I put a couple of 1mm foam pads on this side here, then that's just going to even things up a little bit. So let's just pop. I'm not going too many. Just want to make sure that's going to sit nice and flat. Nothing worse than being a little bit wonky. And that's a good thing to point out actually, where you have got different layers, you know, where you've added cardstock, you know, any of these 2 cardstock, Miri card and the adorable scoreable, Matastic, whatever, you will have that raised section to it. It will raise that up, so if you have got a dip, it's worth just making sure you're compensating for that. Okay, and then we're going to pop this down. Let's do it that way a little bit. Just bring in that little ruler. Not that it's always right, but usually quite a good starting point for me. So I can see that's just a little bit, even though the ruler was right, it's just slightly off. And then this border, this frame, it's got sort of swirls and sparkles on one side and flowers on the other. So I'm going to try and keep the flowers at the bottom. Let's bring in, this one's coming together quite quickly really, card wise. And it will be heavier of course because we have all of those layers of cardstock on. There we go. So let's bring in those little ones that I cut in half. And I knew I was going to need some more. I'm not sure whether that's a bit close actually. Let me just take that off. I'm not sure if I'm going to do my inner. Just clean that up a little bit. At 2mm, or whether I might. I'm feeling like I might go a little lower, maybe even flat. But we will see, and when we get there in a second. I'm just working my way around. And down. And we can go all the way around on this because we don't have to worry about any pieces being over the edge. And then popping these off. So here we go, nearly there. I know this is the bit that takes the most time really in card making, taking these pads off. Once you've planned it out and found the stuff, of course. Actually, no, that's a lie, isn't it? Finding the stuff. Finding where you put that one thing that you want to pop on it is usually the thing that takes me the most time. Although I have been doing better now. I am slightly better organised. I've been watching a lot of videos of people's craft rooms and just looking at the way people store things, seeing if I can adapt that to how I store mine, if that helps me in some way. And there's been some there's good things out there, guys. There is some good things out there, good ways to store. That's going on. And I think I can go flat with him or her with blue eyes. And then this one is going into there like so. There he is. And then we need a sentiment. So what have we got? We've got Forever Grateful, we've got our best wishes, we've got a scent with love. I think I might just go with a scent with love because it is a nice sort of rectangular one. And then normally on one of these type cards I would have it somewhere at the top, but we've got a slightly smaller gap. So I think what I'm going to do is have it coming off one of these sides. Just trim those pips. Okay, so let's pop a 2mm pad on that end. And then I'm going to take the tiniest little piece on that end. And then that leaves me a little bit of space for a couple of gems, and I might come in with those blue ones again. Just for quickness I use this tacky glue a little bit in the middle where that will cross over and that will support that. There we go, so that one's going on there. We'll even put it straight, so that would be nice. There we go. Let's go with these blues in because we've got the blues here, so I feel if we have a little bit of blue up in this corner, and I probably could get away with one, but I am going to do 3. I feel like we've put nearly everything on this card, so we're definitely going to go with 3. Okay, so let's squidge you over a second. Oops, behave. If you're brave, you could use your tonic drops or whoever else company's drops you've got. I kind of find they settle a little bit too fast on these. They go a little flatter on Adorable Squirrel. Great on the Matastic because there's a bit of fibre to it, so it stops it. So, but I think I did see a way once that you could do them onto a mat and then once they were dry, take them off. That is going to be our card number 2. So it just needs that insert in with our little foxy on. So that's that one. Let me bring back in my little 5x7 cut-in Z fold. So there's our bow all sat down or stuck down, and you can see that's looking pretty special. Okay, so that's it for this one. Let me show you what I've got left. This is the Forever Grateful. So we've still got our owls there. We've got a little deer here. The best wishes, Forever Grateful, and that border. Screws over, Mr. Deer. We have got some foiled cardstock. I've got an inset. We've got our printed cardstock, and we've got a couple of smaller pieces there as well. I mean, that I could have popped that onto there maybe, but I'm happy with how they turned out the way I did them anyway. Is, you know, those colours are exactly the same tones, so it does add to them to have that little bit of something different there anyway. So like I said before, I'm not sure what I'm coming back with, but I will be back in a couple of days with something else to play with, and we'll see where we get to from there. But thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for all the support. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, happy crafting. Bye.